I'm going to show you how to get a natural makeup finish and also how you deal with hormonal acne, which seems to be something that I'm learning to deal with in my 40s. So let's go. I have my skincare on. I'm not going to go through what skincare you should use because I feel like you need to use what you already have that is good for your skin. So I'm not going to tell you you should be trying something else. I just want you to use what already works on your skin. If you're in your 40s, then you probably already know what skincare suits you. Although it does need to kind of be adjusted sometimes just because, like I mentioned, the hormonal side of it. But we're going to go straight into primer. Now I'm using my Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Blurring Primer. I want something that's really going to blur my skin because, as you can see, look at that, those two. I mean, do they really need to be red? Like, this is the kind of acne I'm getting at the moment, right around this area here, and it's so painful. It literally started a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, what is going on? Seriously, because I feel normal. I feel normal, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we're going to smooth this over and just really kind of like get a nice even finish. My skin in general is feeling a little bit kind of rough, you know, like a little bit, I don't know, it doesn't feel smooth. So I don't know what is going on with my skin at the moment. I'm gonna give it another week. If not, I'm gonna go, well, actually I'm seeing my dermatologist next week, so I'm gonna ask her. So now that my primer is on, what I want to do is get started with my base. Now, when you're working with skin in your 40s, I feel like it could be anything. Your skin could be super smooth and you're fine. Your skin could be like you've broken out, you've got hormonal acne. It could be any type of skin type you can think of. It doesn't mean as soon as you hit your 40s, you're left with a certain skin type, and we all have that skin type. I want to show you how you can get the most natural finish while dealing with struggles that some people might have. So there is a new foundation that's just launched and I'm loving it because it's infused with skincare, but it's been heavily researched. Like, the way these guys work, this brand is amazing because I've worked very closely with them when it comes to the research and development side of creating products. And the brand is Makeup Forever. I absolutely love this brand. So I trust when they say they've brought out a new product and they've really researched into it, I really do trust them because I've seen behind the scenes how they do everything. They have a new foundation, which is called, it's actually a skin tint. It's called Super Boost. And I am currently mixing 2 shades together. I'm mixing 6 and 8 together because these two kind of like, 8 would be my tanned skin color and 6 is just a little bit too light for me. 7 is a little bit of a different undertone, so it doesn't work for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna really kind of buff this into the skin. Now, your aim to begin with is to start with your foundation for the reason that you want a natural finish. We're not going to be underpainting or anything here. The reason being is because underpainting can give you a slightly heavier finish, but it's also not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. So I want to stick to just normal foundation application. These foundation bottles are so cool. They're squeezy, so you can just squeeze them out. They're really easy to travel with as well. So I'm gonna put some of this on the back of my hand. You just press that top bit and it kind of squeezes everything out. And I'm gonna mix it with this other color, which is slightly darker. Let me mix this on the back of my hand. There you go. I want a bit of color in my skin, so I don't wanna go too pale. It's a very light coverage foundation, so like I said, it's like a skin tint. I'm gonna get my BK Beauty 106 brush. Don't forget to use the code Nina10 because that will give you some discount off of this. Now, what I want to do is really kind of like buff this into the brush first, and then afterwards, once we've got this really nice veil of color, we're going to focus on getting the coverage on certain areas, and we're going to really focus on kind of pinpoint concealer today because obviously I've got specific areas which are very tiny but really need covering. So I'm going to show you that too. So let's start from the forehead and we're going to just work our way down. I can already see immediately this has given me a really nice color to my skin. Remember, each time buff it into the brush first. I totally understand the struggle of trying to get a natural finish, but at the same time, you've just got areas that you need to kind of cover up. That in itself, trust me, is a struggle. It's just annoying. And I get it because there's been times where my skin is so clear and literally one layer of foundation, light to medium coverage, is enough. But today is not that day, because I know these are the kind of like blemishes that are really going to just shine. They're really going to come through. It's almost like such a dark spot that it's just, it's so hard to cover. So I do feel your pain. And like, it's horrible because I'm actually going out for a Sunday roast right now, and it's difficult because like, I know I want to cover these things up. Like, look, that's still coming through, right? Those two little dots there. And then I've got an actual inflamed spot here. So that's like hurting. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to put makeup on it, but you also know that you kind of need to because it's just so obvious. So what I would say here is to just try and make sure that everything is clean before you use it, just to avoid any kind of bacteria. Like as soon as I come back, I'm gonna take my makeup off and wash it, and that's it, so that I'm only wearing makeup for the part that I need to go out. I can't stop looking at that area, it's horrible. And the thing is, I think what makes it worse is like when certain areas are clear and then you've just got this one compact area which seems to have like created its own population. It's like really, it becomes more obvious, if you see what I mean. So let's now deal with concealer. You can see now I look less like a ghost and I actually have some kind of like color to my skin, which is good. What we want to do next is get rid of these dark circles. We're going to focus on the pinpoint concealer just before we set the face. So I want to leave that till last and I'll explain why. But first off, we're going to go in with our concealer. I'm using my Tarte Shape Tape because that's the best one that I feel like suits my skin for my kind of dark circles and under eye. So you can use any concealer you want as long as it is solving the issue you have. If you have dark circles which are not that dark and you can go with a much lighter coverage concealer, go for it. But you need to adjust this section according to what you need. So when you look at what I'm doing, don't think to yourself, okay, I need just as much concealer as she does, because you don't. So let's go with the eyelids first. I've got my beauty blender. And we're just patting this in. Get that nice even finish just on the eyelids. Don't focus on spreading it around. We're going to dip into my powder, which is my Huda Beauty banana bread with my Lorimus, yeah, powder puff. So I'm just pressing it into the powder and then onto my eyelids, and we're just going to dust it off with this brush. Okay, so now the lids are done. I'm happy with that. I'm going to focus on my under eye circles right now. So same concealer. And I'm just going to put a little bit here. Don't go too heavy with this, because you also don't want your under eyes to look so heavy where everything else looks natural and then your under eyes are so heavy that it kind of takes over the whole face. So I'm just going to do a little dash here just because I want a bit of a lift there. That's it. Okay, we're just going to blend these bits in. Just keep it where it is because I don't want that to spread out so much. And then we're going to do this bit. I want to try not to spread this out so much. I'm taking it upwards just for a little bit of a lift. And then you can see this is kind of covered our dark circles nicely. I mean, I would leave it like this, but obviously we've got to cover this stuff up. Now, I do feel like my under eyes are a bit bright. So I'm taking that skin tint that we used in number 8 and getting my beauty blender. And because it's a darker foundation, it's gonna like warm up my under eye area, kind of like sandwiches the concealer in so it doesn't look so disconnected. This is a little trick I use when I don't want to underpaint all over, but I also don't want the concealer to be so disconnected from the base. See how that's warmed it up a little bit more now? I'm really happy with this base, but now we need to kind of like pinpoint conceal, and we're gonna use a completely different concealer for this. You want an opaque concealer. Now, there is something, a little trick I'm gonna show you, because so many of you guys know that, well, you should know also through the videos that I've done, that color correcting for dark circles works really, really well when you're dealing with really intense darkness. So you've heard me before mention that you don't need to use a color corrector for your dark circles like all the time, or sometimes people assume that's what they need to jump to when actually they'd be okay with a good concealer and good technique and application and setting. The people who I would always recommend color corrector to for dark circles are people who are dealing with very, very intense, severe dark circles. So any person who just has dark circles in general, you don't need a color corrector, honestly. But this is a little trick I'm going to show you which works wonders. Now, you want opaque products for this. You don't want liquidy products because they're just going to slide around and it's not going to give you the coverage you want. You can use them, but you'd need to wait for it to set a bit before you blend anything. But we're going to go straight with opaque products. So there's two products I'm going to use here. This is where color corrector does come in handy as well. You don't have to only use it for your under eyes. I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury color corrector in 3 Tan. So you can see it's like this orangey color. Right, I've got 2 brushes here. You want to get brushes similar to this. You can use the one, it really depends on the blemish that you're working on. But I've got my Refa 23 brush, which is very, very small. It's like a tiny pencil fluff brush. And then I've got a 03 brush, which is slightly bigger, but same shape. You could use a lip brush, which you haven't used before as well. Make sure there's nothing on this. Now what I'm gonna do is use 23, and I'm gonna dip into this opaque color corrector. Now, what we're gonna do is we are gonna go on top. It's gonna turn into a little orange dot. I've got one right there on my neck as well. There you go, that's all you want there. We're gonna clean that brush now, so I've cleaned it so there's no orange on there. And now we're gonna go in with the 03 brush. There's nothing on here. And this is where I'm just gonna press on top. It's all gonna look a bit orange, but it's very precise. I cannot get over how much I have broken out there. It's like, what a place. Okay, so now we've got my opaque concealer, which is my NARS Soft Matte Concealer in Ginger Medium 2. Now we're gonna go in with the 23 brush into this concealer. Just put it on the back of my hand so there's not too much concealer on this brush. Now this concealer is ever so slightly brighter than my skin tone. We've painted it on, but we're not focused on blending it. There you go. I mean, that one there is just like, it's like angry. Now, what we're gonna do is let that sit for a second, okay? I know it looks like I've just put concealer on and left it, which is actually what I've done, but I just want that to kind of like dry up a little bit. So we want that to set a little bit. So in the meantime, you can get on with other things. Let's add some Urban Decay Slick Day Brow and just brush this through the brows. And then just brush them up like that. We're gonna let that dry for a little bit. By the way, I have an amazing brow product to show you. It's absolutely amazing, can't wait to show you. Right, okay, let's go in with 03 brush. And we're just gonna pat on top. Don't go like that, just pat. Focus on the outside part of the little dot that you've made. There you go. See how much lighter it is now? You can hardly see it. But we're not done with that yet. Let that sit again. Now we're gonna go back to the brows. This brow product is amazing. This is the new Benefit Mighty Fine Brow Pen. I'm using 4.5. Oh my God, it's amazing. So you know how you get brow pens, right? And it's got like the one pen. This has got 3. So it creates that really nice kind of like hair stroke brow really quickly. So 3 kind of hairs on it. I mean, what on earth, right? I'm gonna try and do this so you can see properly. That's crazy, it's so quick. I mean, it's great for sparse brows, but obviously like I would need to still do some more stuff to this, but if you've already got good brows, this is gonna be a game changer for you. Okay, so now I'm going to use the Kosas Brow Pop Nano. This is in dark brown because I don't really need a thick pencil now because you can see how it's really nicely kind of shaped the brows. So this is where we're just going to add kind of brow strokes and any kind of like filling that we need on areas that we feel like are looking a little bit still sparse. You just need to create some depth in the areas that maybe there's not much hair. So I'm kind of happy with that. It's very, very minimal. Okay, so now that that's done, I feel like we can add a little bit of liquid blush because that's just the best option for blush when you want a natural finish. Powder is just gonna make it look very cakey. We want that really nice kind of healthy glow to come through. I'm gonna use the Rode Pocket Blush in Freckle and my Hourglass 15 brush, and I'm just gonna literally go over like this. I always take it off on the back of my hand first. And then I'm just gonna add some to the top parts of my cheekbone, just quite high up, so that it can really lift my features. So I'm really not going along the cheek, kind of this area. You can if you want, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like I quite like it there sometimes, but it does give you a fuller look on the face, on your cheeks. So it depends if you want that kind of effect. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is get the beauty blender that we had. Now you wanna make sure that your beauty blender is dry for this, not damp. Because if you use a damp beauty blender, it's gonna lift off and kind of like just moisten there. Moisten? Why can't I say moisten? Moisten. That's really weird, I can't say it. I just can't say it. Maybe that was the right way to say it, I don't know. But anyway, you know what I mean, right? That's what it's going to do to the area, and what you really want is for that area to stay as dry as possible, which is why we were using an opaque finish for the color corrector and the concealer. I'm also not going to use the skin tint on top because I don't want anything too liquidy. So what I am going to do is get a little bit of that concealer that I used, put that on the back of my hand, kind of really get it into the sponge. So there's hardly any kind of, that you won't be able to see an obvious transfer. And then we're going to go over the areas. So right now what I want to do is just get rid of any creasing that I have on my under eye area, which is totally normal, by the way. Okay, get rid of that. Get the powder puff, dip into the powder, go into the palm of the hand so there's not too much on it, and then press on the under eye area. Okay, I'm now gonna press this powder on any areas that I know get really oily for me during the day. The areas that don't get oily, don't press it on. I am gonna press it on the areas that I've covered up there, because I really want that to set, fix, and just lock it in. Okay, so now what I want to do is get my powder brush, which is my Hourglass Veil brush, get some powder on it, and dust over all the areas that I didn't use the powder puff on. And then what I'm also going to do is dust off the powder that I pressed on. Get the smaller brush to just dust off the powder from the under eyes. Okay, finally, I feel like my base is not heavy. It is really matte, but that's gonna come out slowly. And I'm also gonna show you a quick trick to make it look a little bit more lived in, because when you first do your base and you set it with powder, it's always gonna look super matte, but you can't. This is the biggest mistake I see people make. They think that how their foundation and their base looks immediately after setting is how it's gonna look all day. You are so wrong. It is not gonna look like that. It is actually good if it looks overly matte initially, because it means it's really going to stay all day. But you have to trust the process and let your natural oils from your skin come out and make your face look a little bit more natural. So don't always try and achieve the look you want your base to have during the day. Like, you've got to remember, if you want it to last all day, it's going to look matte like this initially. So you've got to give it some time. But I am going to show you a trick though as well. Okay, so next up, I am going to add a little bit of bronzer. I'm using my veil brush, but the small side of the brush, and my Fenty Sunstalker in Island Ting. And I'm just going to add a bit of bronzer to my cheekbones. I just want to create a little bit of shape here. So we're going to go right close to the top part of the ear. Focus on most of the product being on the perimeter, and then it should fade in. I like to just add a bit of lift here, and then I also go around the perimeter here because it warms up my face, and that's why I use a bronzer to sculpt. I am going to get my Fenty 200 brush and just do my nose a little bit, just on the sides of the bridge of the nose, just to slim it down a bit. I just do a little V here because it helps to make the tip of my nose look smaller. Okay, my Dior Lip Maximizer. Love this stuff, amazing. I actually usually put that on right at the beginning, but I forgot, so I'm gonna blot this. I'm gonna add my lip pencil, so I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat. I do want a natural lip, so I'm gonna buff it in with my finger. I can't even remember the last time I wore a nude lip with a really strong lip liner. Saying that now, it makes me want to actually do it at some point. Okay, so I want a little bit of colour because I just feel like it looks a bit flat otherwise. So I'm going to go for a peach. That's Rare Beauty Lip Souffle in Brave. Okay, so now I'm going to do my eyes. I'm just going to curl my lashes. Now, I want a little bit of kind of something there, very natural. So I'm going to use my Makeup Forever Artist Colour Pencil Extreme in Limitless Brown. That's 608. This is actually for the lips, I believe, but I'm going to use this on the eyes. The only thing I would say when you're using lip products on the eyes, there's nothing wrong with it, but just don't apply it on your waterline. You know, I would stick to the kind of outside part. Now, I'm not going to apply this directly. What I do want to do is use a very small brush. This is my Sigma Detailed Lip Brush, L04. And I'm actually just going to go over the pencil like that. Right, and then I'm going to go on the back of my hand to make sure there's not too much product there. And then I'm going to go really close to my lash line, but just on the outer part. Always go on the back of your hand first. So just the last half of the lash line, really close to the lash line. And then when I get to the end, I'm gonna just lift up a little bit. So it's a very natural kind of lift there. It's very subtle. Now, I want to just add, you can make this as deep as you want. I personally want to go for a very natural finish. But what I will add, there you go, that's enough for me. What I will add is that if your lash line comes down quite a lot and you want a lift, don't follow the lash line all the way down to your natural lash line, like end of your lash line. Go, like finish a little bit higher and then lift up, because ultimately you want to create what you want to create. Don't just follow where your natural features take you. This is if you want a specific finish. You know, if you want a lifted look, you don't have to follow your features. You can just create that. It's like painting. You want to create what you want to create. So we're going to go ahead and do this on the other side. See how that's super natural and it's not too heavy? So same thing, we're going to go into the lash line, last half of the lash line. It's such a nice brown for this kind of look. Okay, I think I'm kind of done with that. Now we're gonna go in with mascara. I'm using my Hourglass Unlocked mascara. By the way, guys, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe to this channel. It would really, really help me out and help the channel grow, so I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you share this video, that's great, because it will just ensure that someone extra gets to find out about this channel. But also, hitting that bell button means that you don't actually miss any of my future videos. Did you guys know I have a magazine? Did you know I have a magazine? I know, right? It's so bizarre. I'm literally like the editor of my own magazine. That's crazy, right? So my magazine is called The Beauty Breakfast Club, and it's online, and it's basically everything to do with beauty. Like, every article is written by me. I am working on getting guest writers in. You're gonna love it. It's a little community we're building. You can go for the free version, which gives you access to occasional posts, or you can go for the paid version, which literally costs you the equivalent to a coffee a month, and we can actually have a chat, me and you. I get to answer questions. You get so many, like, first, like, access to everything. You get a whole load. So trust me, you want to go for that one. So I'm going to see you there. That is my natural makeup look. So hopefully this has shown you that you can get that natural look yourself, and you don't always have to assume that as you get older you can't wear certain looks. Like, I love eyeliner. Sometimes I find as I've gotten older that it's a little bit too harsh for me, so I opt for a softer version. So you can still do all these things, but it's about changing it, adjusting it so that it can adapt to what you feel comfortable with as you age. So I really hope this whole spot concealer, like, pinpoint concealer method has helped you. Let me know if you want a more detailed video on that, because I'm happy to do it for you. One last step I have, which is my Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin soft setting spray. So this is basically, I use this not so much to set, even though it says it sets your makeup. I use this to kind of make my base look a little bit more lived in immediately. So rather than wait for your natural oils to come out, I can spray this, which speeds the process along. So I am just gonna spray this first. Just like literally going in like that. And that is it. That is going to help to just make it look less matte, which I can already see. And that's about it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this today. Don't forget all the products are in my description and the discount codes, you want to check those out. And yeah, I'm going to see you soon.